Hello, everyone. We are back again, and we're going to talk about full moon in Sagittarius as well as a whole lot of other things. But because it is Sagittarius and it loves to travel and loves other cultures, and so I'm saying hello, bonjour, hola, ciao, hola, kia ora, gay, Gaia, apparently it's Greek, and g'day, mate, from Aussie.
Yeah, and guten Tag for our German friends.
Yes. I thought I'd just throw that in.
Yeah, that's lovely.
So we've been having a chat about Sagittarius having too many fingers and too many pies, and how it can wear us out because that's what Sagittarius does. But let's talk a bit about that, Babula, like what we were talking about in our pre-chat.
Yes, we've been having this lovely conversation about our own experience and other people we know, just feeling quite overwhelmed with not only the stresses and strains, everything that's happening in the world and life, and there's so much pressure everywhere, but just the sheer overwhelm of so many things and so many different things, which is a very mutable sign issue.
Mm.
Gemini, Sag, Virgo, Pisces. There's always so many different interesting things going on that we enjoy and love to do, but it all just gets overwhelming. And you're experiencing, other people I know are beginning to want to take actual, real, practical steps to do something about this. And that means not doing certain things, even if we like them and love them and enjoy them. But there's a limit, there's a point where we just cannot keep stretching ourselves that thinly, which is a real mutable sign issue. We just get stretched very thin because there's so many different things, the love of variety, everything's so interesting.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah,
fully agree with that. And with, my life, too many fingers and too many pies. I'm just making decisions to pull back. And like you said, saying no to doing things, some of the things that I really love doing, but it's just too much. Yeah.
it
I'm
gets
feeling
just,
a bit burnt out.
that's right. And stretch too thin.
Yeah.
And I think, one of the really interesting things as today, as we're talking about this, just 2 days before the full moon, today is the day that the North Node is exactly conjunct the planet Jupiter. I mean, the North Node and Jupiter have been coming close together and really forming this conjunction over the last week or two and in the coming week or two. But today they're exact on the 2nd. Now, Jupiter, there's a lot to say about this because it's a really important conjunction.
Yes.
Conjunction is when two planets or 2 points come together and are joined together at the same degree. Jupiter is the ruling planet of Sagittarius,
Mm.
right? And so is a planet that represents the principle of expansion, of growth, of extension, of more, like it just keeps wanting to expand. And that's what happens when the planet Jupiter is prominent and very strong as an energetic influence, which it is right now. There is this sense of everything's so big, which is great. We're all being stretched. Our consciousness, our awareness, and so on is being stretched, which is great. And this is, I think, part of that process of having so much going on is a part of the stretching. But on a human level, our bodies, our mental health, etc., we've got to find a way to sort of manage that. So
Mm.
the conjunction to the North Node in Taurus, Taurus is very good at taking practical, pragmatic steps in very real terms, not just thinking about, I need to slow down, I need to stop saying yes to so many different things, actually does something about it. It's
Mm.
all good Taurians know, they're very pragmatic about these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and realizing that it's in our hands to actually take the steps, even if it means saying no to things that we would normally love to do.
Yeah. Yeah. To take that to a bigger picture on the world stage, I was thinking about that because Jupiter is far reaching, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about, conjunct the North Node, which is, what we're here to do, and in Taurus, which in the bigger picture is Earth, the planet.
Yes.
So it's like, sort of weighing up the far-reaching effects or the fate of humankind, So it's like a time to look at trends and values uh, and world events and how those things play themselves out, and how that affects the fate of humanity. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely, Cheryl. And, Taurus does have a lot to do with our relationship to this earth and to the physical plane, this beautiful planet that we live on that's, been used and abused for so long for monetary gain, which is also Taurus.
Hmm.
The abuse and misuse of those resources that are provided by the earth for us, they become tools of power and control and domination and excess and extreme wealth, which is also Jupiter in Taurus.
Yeah.
What I have is not enough. I need more and more and more, and I want everything. I want the lot. So we're already seeing that playing out on the planet. There are literally now people in positions of prominence and power speaking publicly words such as, farmers need to stop growing food. I mean, have we ever heard such insanity?
Mm.
And real attempts to shut down the production of food and natural food and anything to do with nature. I've been aware of this for decades, this trend. There's an anti-nature trend to lead us towards transhumanism and AI control and so on. I mean, it's very real.
Yeah.
And it's in our face now. It's affecting everything on the monetary system, banking, natural resources, and so on. So, because the North Node's always opposite the South Node, which is in Scorpio. So this is highlighting, like it's up, fully up with that presence of Jupiter. It's expanding it so we can see the truth. Jupiter rules the sign of truth.
Yeah. I was going to
And
bring that up, actually.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this full moon coming up in Sagittarius is very much, while Jupiter's on the North Node, I think is really highlighting that. I mean, some of the things that are showing up now in the public arena are nothing short of insane, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's an insanity.
Mm.
And but they're very real attempts by people with considerable power and control
Yeah.
to do this. So people, I think, also feel overwhelmed by all of that. It seems so huge.
Mm.
But the power, just like our example of it's up to us to take those steps to manage our life in ways that don't burn us out. It's up to humanity to, step up to these issues and just flat out say, no, not having it.
Yeah. And that's what I was thinking about Jupiter and the truth. It's like, well, what is the truth of what's really going on here? And
Yeah.
what's the truth of the far-reaching effects of what's going on, and that's where we have to sometimes you don't not that you don't see things, but you don't pay it as much attention because it is not in our level of value, but it's sort of like a time to focus on that, you know.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, so stay tuned, I
Yes,
suppose, see what comes out.
yes, yes. We just can't keep ignoring these issues,
No.
and life isn't going to let us. So interestingly, this conjunction of Jupiter and North Node is at 3 degrees of Taurus. And I've always been very aware of this specific degree for two reasons. I think I mentioned it last time. One of them is that in the Sabian symbols, 3 degrees of Taurus is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which what a beautiful image.
Mm.
And we can look at that on a material level, absolutely. Jupiter in Taurus is abundance and wealth and money. So for some people, this can be a time of literally of good fortune and opportunities on that material level. It depends what house it's activating in our chart. Where is 3 degrees of Taurus in our chart? What house is it in? Those will be the issues and the themes. It will be receiving the fundamentally very positive influence of this, expansion and growth and opportunity. But I think collectively, it's also about really putting our attention and our focus in a very positive, expansive way, like reaching towards how we can live on this beautiful planet in a very harmonious way, so that everybody has abundance, everybody lives in abundance and enjoys and feels connected. People have become more disconnected from nature and the natural and the body and earth, and very disconnected. So I think this is a call for us all to really very consciously and deliberately we turn our attention there and to reconnect with that in very real ways.
I know that it seems to be reverbing for some reason, echoing. Wasn't doing it before. Oh, okay. It's all right now. It's okay. I also am very interested in the color of planets, and Jupiter, I read, I believe Jupiter is represented by, purple, violet, that sort of color. Some people say some different colors sometimes, but I think generally it's considered a Jupiter color. And because in the color system that you and I are aware of, which is Orosoma, violet Jupiter is, it's the royal robe. It's the color of spirituality. It's also the color of transformation. And I find that really interesting because, of our transformative times that we're going through. I'm just trying to think what else. And what else it's I think it relates to healing as well. There's a lot going on there in that representation.
I agree, Sheryl. I was thinking about that this morning. I often, not every time, but I often think what I'm going to wear as we do these, because I like to often wear colors that have some resonance with what we're going to talk about. And so I'm wearing orange and purple because I absolutely agree. To me, Jupiter, yes, it rules Sagittarius, a fire sign. But even when I was young, I used to notice that Sagittarians love wearing purple. And I've seen you in purple often.
I used to wear a lot more.
That's right. And I've seen
branch out.
I've seen this for years, and I'll often spot a Sag. There's a certain look. They'll often have red hair, dyed or natural. They'll be wearing purple. It's a common, particularly in the younger Sages,
Yeah.
But, purple to me is also very much has a spiritual vibration. And I think it connects, it's a blend of red and blue, isn't it? It connects the upper chakras and the lower chakras.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jupiter is also traditionally the old ruler of Pisces. And Pisces and Jupiter Pisces and Sag through Jupiter are both signs that are very much about the quest and the search for true spiritual understanding and knowledge and direct experience.
Yeah.
So Jupiter does spiritually offer great expansion, and I keep seeing online so many people posting about the Schumann resonance vibrations of the earth and solar flares and energies coming from the sun just going through the roof, like escalating, not only increase in frequency, like big time in the frequency and vibration, but in the frequency of how many times it's happening. Like they're just coming, and they just keep coming and coming and coming on a daily basis. And I think that's absolutely an indication of energetically, there's powerful spiritual energies are coming through to the earth. And that's a part of what we're all experiencing also. We're all experiencing this tremendous sense of overwhelm. It's just so much happening on so many levels. And so on a daily level with constant activity, we're just like, we just need to stop sometimes.
Yeah. I think
to
too,
integrate.
yeah. I also wanted to pick up that Sagittarius is the seeker and teacher.
Yes, it
So,
is.
you know, and if you're thinking about the centaur holding the arrow and shooting the seeds of information or knowledge, you know, across the universe, basically, not just across Earth, but across the universe because it's so big. But it's, you know, it's always, it's the seeker. It's like you said, the quest, always looking for information, for knowledge, learning about it and learning the truth of it, which is wisdom, and then, you know, and then passing it on to other people. Whether they want to hear it or not, we just tell people.
That's right. And haven't you spent a big part of your life doing exactly that?
Yes.
That's right. That's right. And yes, because that's a very big part of, you know, older souls, evolved souls, if we want to use those terms, who are Sagittarians, most of them are teachers in some way or other. Because of that quest, that search for knowledge, it has to be shared, you know, and as you keep questing and searching and uncovering more and expanding, it's not for yourself. Well, it is, but it's also, it has to be shared with others. And so that Jupiter sense of, I'm also here to expand other people's knowledge and perception and experience and understanding. And it's a quest for knowledge, but it's also a quest for understanding, isn't it? You know, wanting to understand the information. So Gemini, which is what this full moon's all about, it's the sun in Gemini opposite the full moon in Sagittarius on the 4th of June. We haven't even really got to the full moon yet, but that's what we're talking about. So Gemini gathers information and speaks it and writes it. They're the messengers. They're authors, writers, they're in the media, they're communicators, and always curious. What's this? What's that? You know, always reading, having conversations. Sagittarius, the fire sign opposite, takes all that information, and you've got Gemini in the chart as well, and then says, what does it all mean? How does this fit into the big picture? So Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, is big picture and wants to understand it in a more philosophical way. So it's information, but then it gets put into a philosophical framework. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
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 So you know, Gemini will gather information. It's like, you know, reading books about other countries, and Sag says, oh no, I've got to get on a plane and go there.
Yeah,
true. And have the, because it's fire, and have the experience.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I haven't been able to find a spaceship to take me to Mars yet.
Oh. That's right. Well, maybe you astral travel there in the night. Who knows?
Well, that's right. What can I say? The other thing too, just as we were saying earlier, was you know, going back to the more worldly meaning is overdoing things. So you can, you know, you can be peopled out because you're spending too much time socializing. It's like too many parties, you know, burning too many bridges, you know, all those sorts of things. Yeah. So it's
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's, you know, it's easy to think, well, there's no downside to Jupiter because it's all expansion and opportunity and growth and abundance and all those good things. But there is such a thing as too much.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's just too much.
Yeah, you can overeat. You can, because Sagittarians see the world as a smorgasbord to experience in everything, you know.
That's
so
right.
You can overeat, you can drink too much, you can spend too much money, anything that's just too much, you know, over the top.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a sign that doesn't want to know about limitations.
No, doesn't want to be hampered in any way, shape, or form. Thank you very much.
Which is interesting because that's why Capricorn comes after Sagittarius and says, okay, well, that's enough now.
Yeah, exactly. But it's also a generous sign too, very generous.
It's very, very generous. That's a wonderful sense of abundance. It's more and more and more, not just for me, but for everybody, which is why, you know, Jupiter in Taurus at its very best and most magnanimous is wanting to share the abundance of the earth and her resources and her beauty with everybody. But there are some individuals that go, I'm having it all for me, which is the shadow side of Taurus.
Yeah.
So this full moon on the 4th of June occurs in the eastern states of Australia in the early hours of the morning at 13 degrees of Sagittarius opposite the sun at 13 degrees of Gemini. So you might want to see where that is in your birth chart. That sits across my 4th house, home and family, and 10th house of world, career, work, and so on. So those two houses will be, you know, activated for me by this high. And these two signs have a lot of energy, particularly, you know, mental energy. They can keep us on the hop. So it's a very bright full moon to me. You know, there's a lot of light energy, I think, in these full moons. And of course, these two signs have got a great deal to do with the media and anything to do with education. We're seeing a lot going on in all of those areas. And I mean, there always is, but over these couple of days of this particular full moon, it's going to be a lot happening and moving really quickly. You know, these signs have a kind of a fast, quick, high energy quality of it.
Yeah. There's other things going on with the full moon too, isn't there? Meaning, I was reading the full moon is trine Mars in Leo and square Saturn in Pisces. I said I need Babula to help me understand that. Have you got that? Is that what you understand?
Yes.
Oops, you just froze up for a little bit there. Yeah, go on.
Okay, so yes, this full moon makes a square to Saturn in Pisces. Now, this is interesting because Pisces is also ruled by Jupiter, but Saturn's there. And Saturn is the planet that speaks of, well, come on, Jupiter, there actually are limitations. There are structures and boundaries, which is interesting in Pisces, which is a boundless sign. So there's these kind of complex different energies around expansion and know your limits.
Yeah.
Take real practical steps. I think on a spiritual level, this could be a very powerful opportunity for those who meditate or have some kind of spiritual practice, like really give to that this weekend. Like I've seen a couple of things come through my email just even the last 24 hours of spiritual retreats happening over this full moon. You know, you can sign up over those few days. I've seen a few of those. I've just remembered that because this is a very opportune time to do that. You know, or to be watching videos and things that are very uplifting spiritually. I think this could be really quite powerful, or to really give some time and energy to spiritual practice, or to be studying something that's very elevating and truth-based. Yeah. Now, there is also a sextile to Mars, which is in Leo. I want to talk, the month of June is really going to be bringing in a lot of emphasis on the sign of Leo. Let's just go through a few dates, because the full moon is on the 4th. The following day, Venus, the goddess, the principle of love, of beauty, of soulful expression through the heart, the urge to share and connect with others. You know, she's a primary relationship planet. In Leo, it's all about expression.
Yeah.
You know, as someone who paints when she finds the time, I I'm kind of a little envious of people who have Venus in Leo, because it's a wonderful placement for someone who loves to create and express, yeah, in any kind of artistic form at all. So on the 5th of June, Venus goes into Leo, and she will be joining with Mars already in Leo. The Black Moon Lilith is in Leo. Pallas Athena, one of the major goddess asteroids and a powerful one, is in Leo. And of course, in late July, the sun will go into Leo. So over the next couple of months, it's going to be a very important emphasis on the sign of Leo, because Venus moving into Leo on the 5th brings her into real focus, because she's going to go through a retrograde phase and spend a lot more time in this sign than she normally would.
Yeah, I think it's about 4 months, isn't it?
Yes, and normally she'd whiz through a sign in 3 to 4 weeks.
Right.
So we'll talk a lot about that over the coming couple of months. It's quite a significant thing. And Leo, of course, is very much about the self, the individual, our sense of autonomy, our sense of confidence and belief in who we are, our capacity to shine our light, express ourselves, to show up, to be seen.
It loves to perform.
Loves to. It's a sign of leadership very often. With every sign, there's a misuse, there's a shadow side of that, of course. There always is in every sign. And that's about, people who want to take that leadership energy and use it to control and dominate everything and everyone. That's or the ego run amok and just completely out of control. That's a shadow expression of Leo. But at its most pure sense, it is that brave, courageous lion heart, the courage to be ourselves, to show up as ourselves, to be seen, to really know who we are. What is that over the oracle at Delphi?
Oh, yes.
Ruled over by Apollo in the patriarchal era, the sun god. Leo is ruled by the sun. Know thyself and be thyself.
Yes, yeah. I know a few Leos, and they, one has been a DJ and a radio host. So they're always sort of, and the other one hasn't. She's a Leo, and she prefers to be in the background. So there's different, there's Leos who want to be on the stage, and there's Leos who don't want to be on the stage, But the ones who don't mind, shining, they're great performers, and it's like light, camera, action, here I am, like applause.
That's right. And the audience loves it because they're in their natural place.
Yes. Yeah.
And you see, it depends where Leo is in the chart. Is it at the top area of the chart? Is it down in the lower part? Which area as to where that energy of sun, of Leo, of light is expressing itself. And for some, that's out there, and for others, it's more in their personal domain, or it's operating more behind the scenes. It could be someone who's doing these amazing paintings and nobody ever sees them.
Yes. Yeah.
I would just invite everyone, pretty much from the time of this full moon in a fire sign, the following day Venus moves into Leo, a fire sign, to use this Venus in Leo period to be creative, to be expressive. And it can be as simple as just wearing bright colors, because it just feels great. And to find, ways to express, to shine our light, and also to be brave. There is a quality, and Mars is currently in Leo. There is a quality of Leo that really is connected to the lion energy. It is a sign of the lion.
Yeah.
And the lion heart. Leo medically is the heart. And are we shrinking and collapsing like this, or are we letting the heart shine forth? And the colors, of course, of Leo are gold and hot pink and red and yellow, all the colours of the sun. So that's an invitation for everyone, you know, to really let that light shine. But over the coming months, but we're going to have a period. I actually had a chart here. I've set it for the solstice, which is coming up. We'll get to that. At the solstice, we're going to have Venus, the black moon, Lilith, two very strong feminine expressions, Mars, the masculine, the moon, and Pallas Athena, a really powerful goddess, all in Leo at the time of the solstice when the sun goes into Cancer. That's a lot of Leo energy.
It is, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very very third chakra, isn't it? And our
Yes,
personal power.
yes, yes. That's right. That's sun energy. So there's a lot happening this month, as I said at the start. On the 11th of June, Pluto, our friendly lord of the underworld, planet of death and distraction and regeneration and rebirth and new life, he's currently retrograde. And he got to 21 minutes of Aquarius, 0 degrees and 21 minutes, turned retrograde some weeks ago. He's going to move back into Capricorn. So we've had a taste the last couple of months of Pluto at 0 of Aquarius, but he's not finished with Capricorn. And I must confess, you know, as I kind of wrote that down on my list of sequence of dates and what's happening, I could feel part of me going, oh, like, okay. But it must be this way, you know, for Pluto to complete his mission of purging, you know, the dark shadows of Capricorn underground.
Yeah.
And the power systems of this world, you know, this process has to continue. So we're going to feel that, I think. We're going to feel that from the 11th as he goes back into Capricorn.
I think it's a good time to reflect on that Pluto and Capricorn period of our life that we went through.
Yes.
And, you know, what are the things that we learned from it? You know, what were the practicalities? What did we get rid of? What did we keep? But it's not a reevaluation because it's a retrograde. But just reflecting on it and sort of, you know, taking that into consideration as we move forward next year back into Aquarius.
That's right. That's right. So, yeah, it's Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, Earth. It's very real and tangible stuff, and, you know, hard reality in many ways. And it'll be in Capricorn for the rest of the year. And early next year, it'll go back to, I think, gets up to about 2 degrees of Aquarius, about 5 months, but still has some work to do in Capricorn later next year as well before it's finally done. So, you know, when people say things like, oh, when will all this be over? Surely all this is over by now. You know, astrologically, you know, we need to still go through this Pluto and Capricorn phase. And even when it finally leaves, it won't all be totally over, but a lot's going to happen.
But I also think you know, reflecting back on the last few months when it's been in Aquarius, I don't particularly like what went on then either, with all the AI stuff and transhumanism. And I see people who actually are working with robotics and AI and warning about moving into the future with it. And so just because things are, you know, Pluto's going to move into Aquarius doesn't mean it's going to be particularly better. We're going to have a different set of issues that we have to deal with.
That's right. That's right. But I completely agree with you, because that'll be the shadow side of Aquarius. But I would say that overall, it's a shift into a very new paradigm, and we are moving into the Aquarian age, and that'll be a very important marker. So it still will be turbulent, but it's different, and I think it offers the promise of more mass awakening.
Yes, that's true.
Amongst humanity, and that does seem to be happening, bit by bit by bit by bit.
Oh.
We'd all love it to happen like that.
Well, I can just mention all the things that have happened in the UFO community. We've just yesterday we had the 4-hour NASA live webinar with the people talking about, they call them UAPs now, but UFO, the UFO subject. It was it was a bit of a nothing burger, but we didn't expect anything great to come out of it. But
right.
when's the last time NASA did a 4-hour webinar that the world could see, and mind you, it's watched by a lot of people, about UFOs?
That's
There's
right.
a lot going on in the US Congress about UFOs, and
Yes, there is.
there's going to be another disclosure with Dr. Stephen Greer in a few days, and that's another webinar. Lots of whistleblowers coming forward. There's a lot going on just in that arena alone.
There really is, and that's the other thing about Pluto and Aquarius. Energetically, it's a shift.
Yeah.
Energetically, and that includes all of that, doesn't it? What's going on in this cosmos and our place in it, and our connection to other dimensions and realms and beings and races and so on.
Yeah.
So yes, interesting times now, and certainly coming up. On the 11th, as Pluto moves back into Capricorn, and will be at 29 degrees and 59 minutes of Capricorn going, it gets back to, I think, around 28. Mercury moves into Gemini that same day. So the sun, we're in the Gemini time of year. All the Geminis are having their birthdays. Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, will go into Gemini. And so that Mercury's like, yippee, he's in his own sign. So we're going to be mentally very, very active, very switched on, very quick, very curious. Lots of information will really, kick in. Even if we think our inboxes are full now, just wait till Mercury goes in.
That. Like, oh no, really?
No, I'm often unsubscribing from things, and then I keep subscribing to new things.
Yeah.
And then after a while, if I go, no, I'm not really following this, or then I pull out again. But I think I'll be doing a bit of a cull again soon.
Yeah, but it's going to be a lighter and more playful time. Good for socializing, like you say, sharing ideas, but also much busier. Yeah.
Yes. And that's interesting because, Mercury's been in Taurus for quite a while because he had a retrograde phase in Taurus and is now, on the full moon, is very, very close to Uranus and coming out of what we call the shadow phase. So the retrograde phase is fully finished now and fully complete.
Yeah.
And will move very quickly now through the rest of Taurus. So Mercury in Taurus is practical thinking.
Yeah.
Getting our house in order, getting our finances in order, taking care of all that stuff, and cleaning up the garden and all those things. And once it's in Gemini, it'll be whoop straight up into the mental plane, and off we go.
Yes. Yeah.
Different phones. Yeah. Okay. What else have we got going on? There's so much happening. On the 12th, for those who are interested in the goddess asteroids and goddess archetypes and so on, in Leo, there is a conjunction or a coming together of the Black Moon Lilith, which is a very powerful feminine archetype to do with feminine power, and the repression of same, and then the release and the reclaiming of true feminine energy and power. She's going to join up with Pallas Athena, a warrior goddess and a goddess of great wisdom and courage. So there's two very powerful feminine archetypal energies coming together in Leo, the sign of royalty, sovereignty, selfhood. Interesting, huh? So how that will impact each individual will be according to their birth chart and where it sits in their chart. but it can show up in relationships, in your workplace, but it could be a couple of days of just really feeling like you have to stand in your power for whatever reason, or stand, speak truth to power in some way like that.
Yeah.
Or
That's on
just
the
even
12th.
yes, on the 12th and around the 12th. So and remember, Pluto's just gone back into Capricorn on the 11th.
Yeah.
And that brings us up to the 18th, the new moon in the sign of Gemini at 26 degrees, which we'll talk more about next time. On the same day, Saturn at 7 degrees of Pisces is stationary and turns retrograde.
Yeah.
So, within a week, we've got Pluto retrograding back into Capricorn ruled by Saturn, and Saturn himself in Pisces turning retrograde. So Saturn moved into Pisces on the 7th of March, has moved up to 7, retrogrades, and will go back to 0 before turning forward again later in the year. So Saturn will be retrograde for around 5 months, which is normal every year. So retrograde planets is always a turning back, a turning in, a reviewing thing. There's a feeling of things slowing down now. And I will say, when these slower moving outer planets turn retrograde, we feel it it's usually a feeling for a couple of days. It can feel a bit heavy, like particularly on that new moon, even though that new moon's in Gemini, which is a kind of a bright, bright energy. Saturn is retrograde, so it can feel a little bit heavier than we might normally expect with a Gemini new moon.
Yeah.
Because that Gemini new moon's also square to Neptune, which is in Pisces, so it's a little unusual. We might be feeling quite sensitive, a little bit heavy, a bit bogged down. And new moons anyway, it's the dark of the moon. I'd be recommending a couple of days around that new moon, a bit of downtime, a bit of quiet time, even in Gemini. It could be, look, how you could translate that. It might be, look, I'm going to spend the day in bed reading. Use the Gemini in that way, but in a quiet, or studying in your office, or preparing a piece of work that you're working on, or editing that novel, getting some constructive work done, but not sort of pushing too hard because of the Saturn.
Yes.
It's interesting. There's always these complex layers and different complex energies all working at the same time.
And it's not always easy to synthesize the layers either.
No, and everyone will experience them differently, but definitely, when Saturn's stationary turning retrograde, it is felt, and it's coming soon after Pluto slipping back into Cap ruled by Saturn. So yeah. So again, but I think another piece of that is also a message about getting real, clearing stuff out, getting rid of things you don't need, cleaning out your inbox, unsubscribing from things you don't need, getting rid of clothes in your cupboard you don't need, And the other thing I want to say about Taurus, with the Jupiter conjunction to the North Node and the North Node in Taurus, which is related to what I was saying about Saturn and Capricorn, I think this is a really good time to be doing that again more.
Yeah.
What can I eliminate? What can I get rid of that I don't need? Whether it's activities, things in my house, stuff, simplify, simplify, simplify. That's what we need, isn't it? We need a bit more simple in our life.
Well, it's certainly a lighter way of living.
It is a lighter way.
Yeah. And leaving a lighter footprint on the planet, and
yes.
Yeah, but it just feels lighter in your energy field.
It does.
And you need to make space for new things to come in. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And it has a calmer kind of feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot to digest.
It is. And of course, we are approaching the solstice, which will occur on the 22nd. But we'll talk more about that next time for sure.
It's across the 21st, 22nd? Or is
The solstice marks the moment when the sun is at our winter solstice at 0 degrees and 0 minutes of Cancer.
You're right.
And that happens in the very, very early hours of the 22nd this year. So it can vary from year to year, over a day or two.
Right.
So it's the 20th, 21st, 22nd. So it's very early hours of the 22nd.
Okay, that's good to know.
So anyone who's wanting to mark this, and it's always a very powerful time.
Yeah.
Wanting to mark it, you could do that on the 21st or the 22nd. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I always think of it as the 21st. That's my mother's birthday as well. So.
Well, it's so close. Like it's
It
literally like just before 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for all that information. I shall go away and percolate over it. And I'll have everyone know that poor Babula had to spend an hour trying to get with Zoom, trying to let her into this meeting so that we could record it. So
and it's normally Zoom works perfectly. I use it all the
yes.
time with clients and readings and so on and so on. And I don't know. I still don't understand what happened.
So we've really been at this for 2 hours.
That's right.
Anyway, thank you so much. And thank you to people who are watching. And if you enjoyed this and got something out of it, please remember to like the episode and maybe subscribe if you want to hear more, and share it with your friends if you think they would like to hear more. So, and you've got a workshop coming up on Sunday as well, haven't you?
I do, and it's kind of related in many ways to what we're talking about. So the timing's perfect. It's all about karma in the birth chart. What does our birth chart have to say to us about our karma and past lives and what we've brought in from past lives? And we usually experience karma as around those things that we have difficulties with. Repeating difficulties. It seems so easy for others, but why is this always so difficult for me? Why does this keep happening? That kind of thing.
Yeah, what are the themes going on? Yeah.
And Saturn, which is prominent now, and the nodes, the North and South node, are two of the key areas that we look at karmically, and retrograde planets. So we'll be unpacking all of that next Sunday on the 4th of June for the whole day here in Brisbane.
I look forward to that.
Yes, I'll see you there.
Yes, so, and we'll see you viewers in another 2 weeks for the new moon.
The new moon in Gemini.
Yeah. All right. Until then, stay safe and God bless.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Bye.
Bye.